Good day, everyone. My name is Boglo, and with me is
Megalomaniac, hello internets.
Lou. And today we're just going to sort of discuss a video that I recorded a few years ago, sort of related to another video that I made and have shown off, saying how much I really don't like Another Century's episode R, because the game just isn't very good.
Which is sad because I personally like the first three.
I wanted to like the idea of the games, but I always found that playing them was very hard. Something about the way the games, part of it was a lot of the way the game handled, and part of it was the games required a lot more reading than was expected from an action game.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were I
Silly goals.
one memory that I have from the first Ace game was a mission very early in the game where you was it basically you're fighting Wing Gundam enemies, and all of a sudden Tallgeese shows up and automatically gets targeted by the UI. So I shoot it down, of course, only to find out that the mission objective, was defend Tallgeese.
Well, you know, every action game should target what you want to defend because it lets you know it's there. And of course, it should let you damage what you want to defend to make it as difficult as possible for you.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, so right now this is actually basically the generic introduction. When you start any of the story modes, it plays this. So this it'll go on for a little bit. It is kind of all right animated, even if it actually is like a lot of still frames and terrible cameras.
Yeah,
just the story seems kind of nonsense though.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Well, yeah, should we explain background on what the game is, or should we assume
we might as well. It's not like I'm ever going to do anything else with this game, probably.
Yeah, basically, Banpresto, which is a Japanese game company, and From Software, who now are most known for Dark Souls and Demon Souls, but before were known for Armored Core, basically got together and did this crossover game called Another Century's Episode, mixing various giant robot anime in Japan, mostly Gundam, done by the more realistic stuff as opposed to the outlandish shouting attack things.
Well, and, it was mostly, well, honestly, it was mostly shows that were done by
Sunrise.
By Sunrise.
Yeah. Not exclusively though, but yeah, mostly.
Yeah. There were a few other ones, but yeah, for the most part, it was machines that would be generally called real robots.
Mm-hmm.
Although 2 and 3 both have Shin Getter in it.
No, just started with 3. They threw in Shin Getter, which is definitely not a real robot because it's big and people shout the attacks. And arguably, King Geiner is not a real robot, but that's a point for debate. And then this one has Genesis of Aquarion, which is also a very not real robot anime.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the 4th game in the series, and the first one for the PS3.
Yeah, it's still kind of amusing that they made another one because Another Century's Episode 3 was also called The Final.
Yes, they were liars.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was The Final.
Yeah, since then, this is the only PS3 one actually, and since then they've made one more for the PSP, and that was essentially a plotless multiplayer title that you would, get together and play with your friends on the train or whatever in Japan, but that doesn't work for people importing it.
Yeah.
Because finding another person that lives near you that has a PSP, let alone one that has an obscure imported video game, is kind of difficult. Unless you have a very large circle of like-minded friends.
Yeah, I would probably say that I wouldn't be so upset about this game if it wasn't for the fact that Japan video game prices are ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so a brand new PS3 game is $90.
Yeah.
That is insane. So like if I had paid $60 for this game instead, like just standard North American price, I probably wouldn't be as upset with this game because this game isn't even $60 worth of good, let alone $90.
Yeah. As for the story going on here, I have absolutely no idea.
It's something to do with like dimension hopping.
Yeah,
it's all Orguss's fault.
Yeah, essentially, like, this war is happening in this other world, and they're going to open a portal to various, for lack of a better word, canon anime worlds and pull in the heroes from that to help them, I think. But the actual specifics of the war I have no idea on, because I don't understand that much Japanese, and I haven't read a story translation of this one.
Either that, or it is literally Orguss's fault.
I don't think this one's Orguss's fault, because it's... Well, we'll see, because this is you picked the Orguss route.
I did in fact pick the Orguss route, but we're only playing through the first episode.
Yeah.
I've actually played a few missions in the game so far, and the majority of them have been kind of bad. I didn't play. I played the first Full Metal Panic one, which is terrible. Like so that mission is based on the fight with the behemoth, and you'd think that something like that would actually be kind of cool, but no. The way it controls, the way your powers work, and the way like the gimmick you need in order to fight the behemoth, like how all that works together. Oh yeah, so she is actually just summoning things from other dimensions to help, because that's Brunhilde from Gainer.
I think so. It's been so long since I've seen King Gainer that I don't recall everything. But yeah, this like, is a shift from the other Ace games, which just all happened in a world where everything's mishmashed together already. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like a standard Super Wars game.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like just the Full Metal Panic mission just plays so bad. And well, then I played
Didn't they do a thing in this one where, like, since the Full Metal Panic armed slaves can't fly, they have to like grapple or something?
If they do, that wasn't something that I came across when I was playing that mission. Like, it could be something that happened in a later mission, but it wasn't something that mattered in that one.
Yeah, the other games basically like just let you fly regardless of whether or not the robot actually could in the source material, which is kind of goofy sometimes, but it made the game better.
Yes, yeah, like the way a lot of the levels are designed. In fact, with the way that so in most of the games you would actually choose a robot before you deployed. Mm-hmm. So since you were having a wild combination of robots that could fly and robots that couldn't, the missions had to be designed assuming you could fly.
Yeah.
And if you're going to assume that you can fly, you might as well just fly.
Right.
My understanding in Ace R is that once you get to certain points in the story, you can also choose different robots. Because the way it works is that there's you choose a series when you begin.
Yeah.
And then you play a few missions from that series, and then it goes into a combined plot.
That makes sense.
And a lot of this game is designed for you to be playing missions over and over and over again, because you need to beat the game on with every main character in order to unlock more stuff. And some of the stuff that you unlock actually are kind of cool. Like there's a unique mission where you can play as 9-Ball from Armored Core, which you can't use anywhere else. Once you beat enough times, you unlock a story mode for Crossbone Gundam, which would actually be kind of cool if the game didn't control like shit. Mm-hmm. I think this one is part of the normal story, but there is a mission where you actually get to play as Macross Quarter, and have a mission where you are just a giant-ass transforming battleship, but somehow the developers of this game made that mission the most boring piece of shit in a video game.
Yeah, I've seen it, because it's essentially like to use any of the really fancy-looking things, you kind of have to charge a super meter, and you do that by just using like button mashing. Essentially, is what it looked like.
Yeah, and then and that is basically how every character works. Like, so. Yeah, I know you've seen that one, Mecha, but imagine that, but now you're playing as the Arbalist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is literally how the Behemoth fight works. You have to shoot your shotgun at the Behemoth to charge up your super meter, because you can't damage him unless you're in the Lambda driver mode. And then once you've turned on the Lambda driver, you have to use specific parts of your attack combo to actually cause damage to the Behemoth. And if you miss, you actually don't deal any damage and you waste your super meter.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad design decision, personally.
That is a terrible mission. It is the worst of all the missions that I have played so far in this game. I played the Macross Zero one, which is actually more of a normal actiony game, but because of the way Ace R controls, it is terrible.
Yeah. So that's to figure anybody who doesn't know what Orguss is, which is probably 90% of people out there, it's probably confused as hell at this point.
Yeah, so Orguss is kind of based on the Macross series. It's not directly related, but it has some of the same stylings, and it even uses the same name.
It was the same production company, essentially.
Yeah. The big thing in Orguss, though, was that it was around a dimensional bomb that resulted in things from different time periods and dimensions just to start merging together.
Yeah, it starts off, the main character is in this war with some undefined fact. Forget, honestly, what kind of faction they're fighting. But he was essentially supposed to defend a weapon of mass destruction called a... the name changes, but it's essentially like space-time oscillation bomb. And
sounds about right, yeah.
It essentially goes off right near him, and what this thing does is, rather than blow stuff up, is it mishmashes all of space and time together, so that the world is completely screwed up. And he's in this new world where, honestly, a bunch of really weird crap happens eventually. Like, I know at one point later in the series, they essentially run into Joan of Arc.
So so far, there are two really terrible things that have been going on with that entire first battle. The first thing is that if you see what I'm shooting, that is not what Orguss's gun is.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a missile.
For some reason, Aesar decided to give Orguss a beam cannon instead of a missile gun for his primary weapon.
Yeah.
The second thing is that you may have seen it during the first part of the battle, but you actually have to wait until the entire firing animation finishes before you can fire another shot. And by the entire firing animation, I do pretty much mean that the beam has to hit the enemy before you can fire another shot. Because you probably saw me.
Slow firing.
Yes, because you probably saw during the first part of the fight that I was jamming on the button, and you could see Orguss's arm raised to try and fire, but no shots were released.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty bad.
Basically only got the missile gun, the punch, and what looks to be guard as far as your attacks go.
Yeah, or at least that's the first page of attacks. The way weapons in Another Century's episode works is that you can, I think it's left and right, L1, R1 you have to press.
Yeah, so
switch between different pages. Yeah, you switch between different pages. Mm-hmm. The first page is weapons that have no requirements. The second and third pages are weapons that require part of your tension meter in order to fire. The tension meter is on the lower left-hand side of the screen, and it builds up as you damage and kill enemies. And actually, the tension meter builds up fairly quickly from my experience. It's really only annoying in situations where you absolutely need to have tension bars in order to use specific powers. But for the most part, it charges up relatively fast, so you can make use of your superpowers fairly regularly.
Yeah.
Oh, this part here, I actually literally just noticed that during these cutscenes you can move. It was probably the left stick to play around with the camera.
That's amusing.
Yeah. One thing that people probably haven't noticed, with the way the cameras have been working in actual combat, is that the right stick doesn't actually move the camera. The right stick changes between your transformation modes. Because that's a good idea, right?
Completely. No. That's what a
No,
D-pad's for.
That's what the D-pad's for, and I don't think the D-pad is used for anything. Although maybe the D-pad is used for changing between the pages.
In the other games, it was L2, R2, if I remember correctly.
Like, that would be way better.
Now, I think in some cases you essentially had to cycle through forms rather than just pick which one you wanted, but...
Yeah. I mean, that's why D-pad is better. So yeah, like that flashing bar at the bottom underneath the numbers, which is my hit points. That's the tension gauge. I think actually it's flashing because my tension gauge is full.
Probably.
Oh, okay. No, I switched to the second page of my attacks.
Yeah.
Here, which is.
See, now you're firing actual missiles.
Yeah. So in this page, there is there's micro missiles as one of the weapons that uses tension. I believe the one that says 3 is all out attack. But I don't think I bother. Yeah, I don't think I bother using it. Who knows? Because this game is just kind of bad.
Yeah, the other games just didn't bother with the tension bar thing for attacks. Attacks would just, have lower ammo or have some kind of recharge time or something. And basically your quote-unquote super meter or whatever was essentially used to activate combination attacks between whatever multiples of units you had. And sometimes you'd get specific things, like if you had like God Gundam and Master Gundam, they would do like double God Finger or whatever. Or,
every unit.
lines.
Like there were combos with every unit, but specific pairs or specific groupings of units had specific combination attacks, which were in general dependent on.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of an example that a lot of people would know.
Yeah, but that is probably one.
And then we do Ace 3 at least had a lot of fun, like gimmicky ones between units from different series.
Yeah.
Like, if I remember correctly, it had one between the Dominator from King Geiner, the Nirvash Type Yin from Eureka 7, and something else piloted by a little girl, because that was the joke. It's like, here's things piloted by damaged little girls.
So this battle is super dumb because it's automatically locking onto enemies as you destroy them, and some of them are just like straight up teleporting around because like they're being blown up by stuff you can't see. And because you shoot so slowly, like you have to. Hitting enemies is a little bit more of a crapshoot because the beams don't track or lead the enemy. Like it's impossible for you to do that. You shoot towards where you've locked on. So and with it shooting so slowly, it's just a matter of maybe I'll hit.
Yeah.
Maybe the enemy is too stupid to dodge. I don't know.
I think part of that might just be Orguss sucking too. I've seen like Destiny Gundam,
maybe.
and it fires pretty quickly at least.
Okay, yeah, I'll say, yeah, like I said, I've only really played 3 modes, but even the VF0, I remember, did the same thing. It shot a burst from its gun, but it was always it shot the burst and then it had to stop and wait, which reminds me of another pretty terrible game that did something like that.
Which one?
Crisis UC.
Climax UC.
Climax UC. Like,
yeah,
the majority of that game was pretty good. Like it was a lot like a better Encounters in Space, except the problem was if you used any rapid firing weapon, you were just hosing yourself.
Yeah.
Because of the way it handled rapid fire weapons, like because you would
lock
yourself in place and point towards where you were aiming at and fire that whole burst until that burst ended.
Yeah.
It was, like the rest of that game seemed pretty cool, but that part itself I couldn't take it. Because even Encounters in Space did a lot better at that.
Yeah, this is just a whole argument between people who know each other and are on different sides for various ideals, because this is a real about anime.
Yeah. Because if I remember correctly, the guy in the sunglasses used to be working for the quote-unquote bad guys.
Yeah, he was. It's like the guy in the sunglasses is the main guy's like ex-best friend, and the girl they were just talking to is the main guy's daughter, because time and space got fucked up. So she's like 16 now, even though he hasn't aged today.
I should probably watch Orguss sometime.
It's goofy. It's
yeah,
and it has an animation budget of about like $10.
Okay, so apparently the 2 tension bar super move is some kind of nuke.
Yeah, it seems like a high explosive version of your rocket.
Yeah, or I should say a rocket gun.
An actual rocket gun. Yes.
Yeah.
This being in the game is just kind of weird.
Yeah. And like this is the first level too for the Orguss story mode. Actually, the first level for the Macross Zero story mode is also really weird because it is basically the finale of Macross Zero.
Yeah. Well, I know the Seed Destiny story mode is like literally after the series. And the Super Wars Original Generation story is, I think,
well, it
after
is
OG Gaiden.
Yeah, because it's like they.
So,
but it's also divorced from their story because they are taken out of it and brought into this mixed up stuff.
I think, given what I've heard the way the OG story ends, I think it actually is supposed to be between OG Gaiden and OG Second, which is OG Second's the most recent one.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know where the other series fall into their timelines.
Well, I mean, and like I mentioned, the Full Metal Panic one starts with the fight against Behemoth, which is not like super far into that show's story, so that one actually works fairly well.
I know Zeta is at least far enough for Camille to have the Zeta Gundam.
Yeah.
And Avro to be piloting again, so like halfway through at least.
Yeah, about that. Oh, another thing about this mission is that you're actually supposed to be defending that other ship. That's what the bar at the top of the screen is for. There isn't really a whole lot that you can do though, because like shooting down enemies is such a crapshoot as it is.
Yeah. If it's like the other games, you can probably go back and redo missions with different units to get a higher ranking.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
I know
remember
Ace
if I
3 essentially
could.
taking Freedom Gundam with the meteor pack on it into any mission and just letting loose was pretty much the key to getting S ranks.
Sounds about right.
Because it did so much damage over such a wide area.
Yeah, something like that would be super useful here, considering it is nothing but swarms of tiny enemies that die in one shoot.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. And just these transitions into these cutscenes are just so sudden and jarring. It is literally, you are in the middle of killing an enemy that happens to be the triggering enemy, and it decides to pop up this cutscene.
Yeah, that's just how this series has gone. And actually, from Arclay, Armored Core did this a lot too.
I guess it
Back in the
does.
day. I should say I haven't played the latest Armored Core, but 4 and before that, pretty much did.
The later ones have been better about it, but there's also been less in-mission cutscenes.
There weren't a ton in Armored Core. I just remember when it had them did that.
Yeah.
It's one mission in Armored Core 4 involving orbital fortresses that were a complete pain to actually deal with. It would, you'd blow one up, it'd interrupt, and then the other, the rest would show up.
As bad as this game is, though, it shouldn't really be taken as a example of From's capability as a developer, because like every Armored Core plays better than this, and as much as I think
games seem to play better than this. So I think it was just them trying new things and it not working out.
Yeah, this isn't even the first HD game that they made, because if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure this came out after Armored Core 4.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, and 4 was on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, Armored Core 4 was like 2006, 2007. This was 2010.
Yeah, so I mean, this game playing the way it is, like this was a specific decision that they made to make it run like this instead of running like Armored Core.
Yeah.
So,
and later they did the Gundam Unicorn game, and I don't know how that turned out for them. I don't know if it was similar to this or not.
I was considering picking that up, but I think I then... Well, I didn't know that it was From that made it, but after being kind of burned and on paying $90 for this, I sort of went, I don't feel like paying for Japanese import next-gen games anymore.
Yeah.
Although
you probably find it cheaper now because it's been out for a year or two.
Probably, yeah. Like if PlayAsia still has it, it's probably pretty cheap, because like I keep looking every now and then, and PlayAsia still has copies of EX Troopers for super cheap now. Like I think the last time I looked, they were like $42 for both versions.
Well, I know a guy in Japan, he said he saw copies of Ace R here for like $10 or 1,000 yen or so in Akihabara. So
good, because that is about what it's worth.
Yeah.
Like it is not a game of zero worth, but it is definitely not a game that is worth much at all, let alone normal Japanese game prices.
And I'd pay 30 or 40 for it and not feel bad.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier in the video, if I had paid more like $60, I wouldn't be quite so upset about this game. But as it is, this game is terrible.
And now they're getting stuck in a dimensional rift.
Yeah. Which probably will bring them back to the rest of the story of this game. Yeah.
Yeah, that first mission seemed to drag on too, just having
tons
of
too much small
reinforcements,
unnecessary too much small unnecessary enemies that did nothing but just fly around and get killed. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I've recorded about this game now so far, and I'm probably not going to record any more. So, I'd like to
Sads.
thank you all for watching.
Bye.